All right, welcome. We want to thank Sandy Castell and Mike Leonetti for their shout out.
Well, let's thank Sandy.
Thanks, Sandy. We'll take Mike off the Christmas card list. No, we appreciate them, and we take it in good strides. And we know that there's no what's the word I'm looking for?
It's nothing.
It's
all good.
It's all good.
It's all good.
All right, before we get to our guests, I promised Mrs. Bobcat that I would do this. Race to save a life, rev up your engine, shift into gear. A racing competition will soon be here. It's a fundraising race day. Stop bullying and prevent teen suicide. Save a life and join us. Saturday, November 8th at the Gene Woods Racing Experience, 121 East Sunset Road from 5 to 9 p.m. $25 for 2 races. There'll be raffle prizes, guests, racing fun, spread awareness from On Pit Road Racing. Proceeds go to Can't Make Believe Kids, anti-bullying, and suicide prevention research. So we want to, maybe we'll get out there November 8th ourselves.
It's a priority for us. We might be doing a national pageant that weekend in Long Beach. But
that's right.
But if not, we're there.
We'll definitely be there.
Yep. And fall weather is here. You all wanted to race go-karts, so now...
Sorry, we may be tied up.
Yeah.
All right, joining us now on the phone is a person who is, I guess, considered an expert on the margin tax, at least how to give us the right information for people to make the right choice in what to do to support this. Miss Karen Griffin joins us on the line and in studio from Aqua Plumbing, and a gentleman who's been a friend of our show, has been on in the past. Mr. Artie White joins us at the microphone. Good evening, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Good evening.
How are you? Did you want to put the headset on so you can hear Karen?
No.
That might help. That's always when you have beginners here in the studio, Karen. Well, listen, we thank you for taking the time to be with us, because obviously this tax initiative, there's so much going on around this Margin 3 tax, and there's a lot of scuttlebutt. And really what I'd like to do to have you begin with is explain what the tax is, what it really is, and how people may be getting a little bait and switched here on this tax.
You're exactly right. It is a bit of a bait and switch. What we know about the margin tax is it's a deeply flawed tax measure. It would create a new tax here in the state of Nevada, and the proponents call it the Education Initiative. Unfortunately, it would do nothing to guarantee more funds for education. What we do know it would do would be hurt thousands of small business owners just like Artie and major employers here in the state. It would damage our state's economy, cause the loss of thousands of jobs throughout the state of Nevada, and increase the costs that you and I pay for things like food, housing, gas, utilities, even health care. In fact, today we came out with a study. We released a study from Jeremy Aguero of Applied Analysis. He's a leading economic analyst here in the state of Nevada. And because the margin tax doesn't exempt health care, that includes Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement payments, businesses like doctors and hospitals would be taxed. This is a 203% increase on the business taxes for Nevada healthcare providers. So we could see reduced access to care and higher healthcare costs even here in the state of Nevada as a result of the margin tax if this thing were to pass in November. And just to give your listeners kind of a basic idea of what the margin tax is, it's a 2% tax on the gross revenues of businesses that have revenues of more than $1 million annually. So if you have gross revenues of $1 million and a penny for your business, you would pay taxes on your entire revenue, not just the part that's over $1 million. Now, you can take one of 3 deductions. First of all, let me take that back. Take a step back. You can deduct your modified business tax. You pay that. And then you can take one of 3 additional deductions. You can deduct the cost of goods sold, which, by the way, is different from the federal definition of goods sold. Or you can deduct employee compensation up to $300,000 per employee. Or you can take a standard 30% deduction. And what we know about this tax is, on average, it is the equivalent of a 14 to 15% corporate income tax rate for the state of Nevada. Now, for some businesses, it would be less, and for some businesses, it would be significantly higher. And because it's not based on the ability to pay, it would have to be paid in years even when you don't turn a profit. And businesses that are right now turning a profit may become unprofitable as a result of this tax. It just deserves a no vote.
Why do you suppose, and I'm just going to throw a softball out here because I think I know the answer, but I'll put it out there anyway. Why is it under the guise of an education revenue tax? Why are they using that tactic to try to build it?
It was put on the ballot by the Nevada State Education Association. And, and I understand their frustration. I think for years and years they've been trying to come up with a stable source of revenue for Nevada's education system. And if you've lived here in the state of Nevada for any length of time, you know that our education system needs some help. Now, some people would say that requires just revenue. Others would say it requires some sort of reform, and some people think it would be a combination of both. But if you've lived here for any length of time, you know we need to fix something. Mm-hmm. And I think that the teachers had a really good, I think this was coming from the right place. Unfortunately, it's the wrong tax. They had a chance to start from scratch and come up with something that would work for everybody, but instead they didn't do that, and what they put on the ballot is deeply flawed and very costly.
I think one of the biggest problems that I'm hearing on this, and this is just from a lay person, is I think the explanation that you put out there is very, very good, but I don't know if the average voter in the city is going to understand what this is all about. You make
a really good point.
Because they're going to hear.
The proponents have a very simple and easy message. Like I said, if you've lived in Nevada for any length of time, you know we need to fix education. And so when you call something the education initiative in your marketing, that sounds really good. Unfortunately, when you start to peel back the layers of the onion, you realize how bad this tax really is. And, it's not based on the ability to pay. There's no plan or no accountability and no guarantee for any funds that would actually get into the state's distributive school account. Because what this tax does is it sends about $800 million annually into the state's distributed school account. Now, that's the account that is used in the state's general fund to fund education. Unfortunately, what's happened in the past is that lawmakers, when you put more money into that pot, lawmakers can take the money that had been in there right on out and use it to fund other portions of the budget. And they've done it as recently as 2009 with the room tax diversion in Washoe and Clark counties. So we know what's happened. They've got a long history of doing that kind of thing with what are supposed to be education funds. And so there's no guarantee it would increase education funds, and there's no plan for any money that would actually stay in the state's distributed school account for how that money would be spent. So we don't know if it would be used on bureaucrats at the top levels of our education department, or if it would ever get down to our children in the classroom where it can really benefit kids.
How are the proponents of the tax bill presenting it to the public?
What they say is, that we need to fund education and big business needs to pay. Well, here's the problem. $1 million in revenue is not a lot of money. You start to get a few employees, you start to do pretty well, and your revenue, you can very quickly get to $1 million in revenue, even though you may have very slim or no profit margins at all. And so because it's not based on the ability to pay, it is so damaging for small businesses here in the state of Nevada. Businesses with, say, higher revenues, but, real thin 1-2% profit margins, those profits would be wiped out entirely in many cases. And, there are a number of businesses that I've seen their numbers run, and they go from having a modest profit to being underwater if this tax were to pass in November. And we're talking local coffee shops, local restaurants, a lot of small business owners that, that you consider them, the average Nevadan considers them a small voter. Those are people that live in your neighborhood. And they're small business owners, and they'd be deeply hurt by this tax.
Artie, I want to ask you the question from the standpoint of the business owner, and obviously I know what you're doing to educate other business owners, but let's share with our audience, As a business owner, what are you telling other business owners about this tax and why it needs to be defeated?
I'm telling all the business owners exactly what Karen's telling them. I learned a lot from her, and I think it's important that the public knows what really truly is being said in that law. And as she put it, peeling back the layers, you finally realize what this tax is really all about, and the fact that it's not guaranteed to go to education. From a small business, we're a family-owned plumbing company with 15, 20 employees. We'll just crack $1 million, and I'm going to have a huge tax burden if the voters vote yes on number 3 on the margin tax, and it's going to be devastating to our company. A lot of the small business owners, contracting firms such as mine, and not just limited to plumbing companies, they're actually talking about possibly closing up or moving, and there are some moves right now being made, researching other cities to move into, because this is going to be a very devastating tax where they will not survive.
Interesting. All right, we're going to stop right there for a quick break. Karen, can you hang on for a little bit longer?
Sure will.
All right, thank you. You're listening to Vegas Unwrapped. Karen Griffin, Artie White, talking about the upcoming election regarding the margin tax and how damaging it could be to businesses and the business culture here in Nevada. Phillips and Cash, Bobcat on the board, JPEG behind the camera, and you, the listener, will be back right after this.
Let's talk about hospice.
All right, welcome back to Vegas Unwrapped. Talking about the margin tax, the big debate coming up on the November ballot. Really isn't much of a debate when you listen to the facts about it. Joining us on the Aqua Plumbing phone line still is Karen Griffin. She's still out there hanging. You like that there?
I did. I
slide that right in there for you, buddy.
Yeah, you did. Wait till you get the belt.
Shameless plug.
I was going to say on Pit Road Racing gets $200 a month for that, okay?
But no, actually, I can't. I did that for Artie because he was kind enough to arrange this interview with Karen, and one of his organizations have supported this interview. So, kind of give Artie a couple of plugs in here. So,
Yeah, $100 next month, Artie.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm with you.
So, Karen, back to you if I can.
Yeah.
My question to you is, when it was realized that this tax initiative was going to go down the path that it is going right now, couldn't there have been, or what was done to possibly change the direction of this tax to not hurt businesses as much in its wording or process within the bill or whatever, to still benefit education directly and not directly hurt the business temperature in the state?
Well, unfortunately, our initiative petition process doesn't allow for that. What happened is the teachers got enough signatures from registered voters here in the state of Nevada to get it on the ballot in November. State lawmakers did have a chance to put an alternative on the ballot during the last legislative session, or pass this initiative in the way it was written. They couldn't make any changes, but they could have put an alternative on the ballot. They chose not to do that. So this initiative petition is going on the ballot as question 3, as is. You can't make any changes because the voters signed this initiative petition and were able to get it on the ballot. The teachers were able to do that, and the voters got the signatures. So we can't change it. And in fact, if it becomes law in November, it couldn't be changed for a minimum of 3 years because it's an initiative petition. And that's another one of the things that is just so detrimental about this. We know it would hurt small businesses. We know it's the equivalent of an average 14 to 15% corporate income tax rate. And you know what's interesting about that? That rate, you hear it and you think, okay, well, I don't really know what that means. Well, let me give you a little bit of perspective. Here in Nevada, we consider California a high tax state. California's corporate income tax rate is 8.8%. So on average, this would be nearly double California's corporate income tax rate. And beyond that, it would take Nevada from about middle of the road as far as states are concerned for business taxes to, depending on how you look at it, the 4th or 5th highest tax state in the nation for businesses.
And for the longest time, we've been known as one of the most corporate tax-friendly structures, like forever, along with Delaware, and I think, who's the other one? Florida has a very friendly corporate structure, and I read what you just talked about a couple of days ago, how our tax situation would vault us into one of the most business taxable states, which completely flips our position in the country.
Yeah, it really, there wouldn't be a whole lot of reason for businesses to come here. I have never heard a business say, well, I'm going to come to the state with the highest tax rate in the nation.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right, absolutely.
I wonder if that new company, not new company, but the new company that the auto...
Tesla,
I wonder if Tesla...
concessions were made for them.
Concessions were made for them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I see.
Yep.
Okay, very...
And you think the casinos are going to be paying into this?
How special.
Right. So, Artie, let me come back to you. What is being done on the ground floor level of trying to spread the word to those who may not be aware of what this tax is about? And I'll give you an example of what I'm referring to. It's hard for me to straddle the fence on this, and I'll tell you why. My wife is an administrator in one of the elementary schools here in town, so I'm very pro supporting education. However, I've taken the other side on this particular bill personally, that this is not a good thing. So I then went on and I asked my wife, I said, how many of your teachers are even aware that this is on the ballot and what this is all about? And my wife said, I don't know. So what's being done in the field, so to speak, to help educate the everyday voter to defeat this bill in November?
It's just boots on the ground. You strike a conversation with somebody, try to bring the margin tax, if you understand it, as I do, you try to bring it to the subject of the table and educate as many people as you can, because our problem is this: most of the voters don't know, and that is the biggest problem that we have as small business owners. And let's take contracting, aqua plumbing, or any of the electrical companies or any of those off the table. Let's talk about clothing stores, 7-Elevens, coffee shops, things of that nature that might crack $1 million. They're going to be gone too, and that's going to be a problem from an unemployment standpoint. It's not just contracting, so it's more than talking to contractors. You need to talk to store owners and employees of store owners and ask them what they're going to do when the store closes. Pretty soon there's going to be more people than there is jobs, which is a problem now, but it's going to be exacerbated.
Question for the both of you. There are pollsters out there that poll everything when it comes to elections. At this point in time, do you have any indication whether or not the polls are saying that this bill will or will not pass?
Yes, actually we do. So if anybody out there pays attention to Ralston reports, or he's on KSNB as well here in Las Vegas, he released a little bit of some polling results that the Coalition to Defeat the Margin Tax did just very recently. What we found out from our very recent polling is that the vast majority of Nevadans don't know about this. About 70% of voters hadn't heard about it. And at face value, if tomorrow were voting day, this initiative would pass. It would pass because at face value it sounds so good. But as soon as people know a little bit about it, we very quickly gain the upper hand. The no vote very quickly gains the upper hand. And so what that means for our coalition and our campaign is that this is a very costly campaign to run, because in order to get the word out to all voting Nevadans, as many voting Nevadans as we can, we have to get on the airwaves. We have to be on TV, we have to be on radio, and we have to be on a lot. And so in order to defeat this, we've got to have a massive television and radio ad campaign.
Will you have people out at the polling centers the day of election?
Not allowed to poll on the day of election. Not allowed to.
You're not allowed to hand out literature or any of that stuff.
Not on
to
the,
talk to people?
You can't
Not on
hand
the day
out
of
literature
election.
near a polling place. Yeah, you got to be real careful.
Let
Get
me
them a block away.
let me throw something out to you about the Nevadans' feeling about education. I've lived here for almost 20 years, and I actually see it as a double-edged sword. There are people that, and I'm going to say, go out on the limb because I don't have statistics, but I would challenge anybody to challenge this. The educated people in this city are very much for anything that will bring education to a higher level. We're ashamed that the state is 49th in education. On the other hand, there's a group, and it's a very, very large group, that doesn't want to see another dime go towards education because they feel that teachers are overpaid, that they're underworked, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there are really two very separate groups out here. You really have to focus your campaign, I would imagine, on the, without showing any disrespect, the more educated people in the city and in this county.
Well, and I don't know if it's more educated or not, but you're certainly right. There are people out there that we know are going to vote no. They hear the word tax and they're not interested in voting yes. Those are people that we know are going to vote no matter what. So we are definitely looking at people that are potentially playable. We want to talk to people, and we want to get our message out to those who haven't made up their minds yet, who want to dig a little bit deeper and know more about it, or even people who think they're going to vote yes, and they would vote yes if the election were today. But as soon as you, as we talked about earlier, peel back the layers of the onion for them and show them exactly what this would do, they very quickly change their mind.
In your opinion,
those are the people we're out reaching out to right now, and of course we're always talking to our supporters that would support us, without hearing those.
In your opinion, do you think you have enough time to get this done?
Yeah, I mean, we're working diligently. This is the time. In the next few weeks is when you will start to see all sorts of political ads flying. So this is the time. We're not behind the curve, if that's what you're asking. You haven't really seen those political ads yet because those come at the very end of campaign season.
Karen, we appreciate your time. I want to give Artie the final word as we close here. So, Artie,
thank you so much for having me.
You got it. Stay tight there. We'll let you go in a minute. Artie, as a business owner, with about the last minute and a half we have or so, what would be your message to the folks out there regarding this tax?
Please become educated. Listen when somebody wants to talk about the margin tax with you. It's really, really important because it's going to affect the entire state, not just Las Vegas. And right now it's boots on the ground, and we have to get the word out as to the detrimental aspect of this tax.
Well, we'll end it on that. Karen, thank you so much for taking time with us tonight on the show, and hopefully whatever role that Vegas Unwrapped is playing in helping spread the word will make a difference in yay or nay votes come November for the election on this initiative.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Karen. We appreciate Artie, as always, from Aqua Plumbing. Why don't you give a phone number or website for people to get in touch with you for all their plumbing needs? And why don't you give your slogan? You can say that on the internet.
Okay.
Site, so go for it.
All right, here we are. My name's Delicious Artie White with Aqua Plumbing, where Aqua Plumbing's the name and turd herding's the game. I want to thank Karen for coming on for us. Really appreciate it. We can be reached at 702-642-8400. We are a 24-hour plumbing service and repair company, and our email address is aquaplumbinglv.net. Check it out. We've got a video on there. It's a lot of fun, and please come to Vegas Unwrapped, and there's some videos on there as well.
How about a quick plug to the organization that supported Karen's appearance with us tonight?
I am the Vice President of the PHCC of Nevada at Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors. It was started in 1893. It is nationwide, and we have a local chapter here in Las Vegas we're very proud of. And Karen was nice enough to come and talk to our group and educate us. We were just like everybody else. We had no idea.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank the PHCC for sponsoring Karen's appearance tonight. We want to thank Karen for coming on, and Art, always good to see you here on the airwaves, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time. Coming up next, already in the phone hopper, Mr. Dion Lee, the head coach of the Las Vegas Showgirls. We'll get to Dion right on the other side of the break. You're listening to Vegas Unwrapped with Bobcat on the board, Jay Begg on the camera, Phillips and Cash, you the listener. We'll be back right after this.